Few actors in modern cinema have carried the quiet magnetism of Richard Gere. For decades, his presence defined a certain kind of Hollywood leading man, charming, thoughtful, and deeply charismatic. Audiences around the world remember him as the romantic hero of Pretty Woman, a film that turned him into a global icon. Yet the most remarkable part of his story isn't the fame he achieved. It's the distance he eventually chose from it. At a time when many actors chase larger paychecks and bigger franchises, Gere gradually stepped away from the spotlight. His choices weren't driven by failure or scandal, but by personal conviction. Over time, he devoted more attention to humanitarian work and spiritual practice, even when those decisions complicated his standing in Hollywood. In doing so, he built a life shaped not only by cinema but also by principle, compassion, and a search for meaning beyond celebrity. A restless childhood in small-town America. Richard Gere's story began on August 31st, 1949 in Philadelphia. But most of his childhood unfolded in Syracuse, New York, a small town where life moved at a steady and modest pace. His father, Homer George Gere, worked as an insurance agent but was known for helping neighbors whenever they needed guidance. His mother, Doris Ann, created a warm and musical home for their 5 children. From an early age, Richard showed both discipline and curiosity. He learned to play several instruments, including piano and trumpet, and developed a strong interest in gymnastics. At school, he was known as talented and thoughtful, someone always searching for deeper meaning in things. Though life around him seemed ordinary, he carried an inner restlessness. That curiosity pushed him toward questions about life, purpose, and identity, questions that would later shape both his spiritual journey and the decisions he made throughout his career. Philosophy, questions, and a search for meaning. After graduating high school in 1967, Gere earned a gymnastics scholarship to the University of Massachusetts Amherst. Instead of choosing a practical field of study, he pursued philosophy, a subject that allowed him to explore the deeper questions that had always fascinated him. Books on existence, reality, and human purpose filled his reading list. Writers such as Jean-Paul Sartre challenged him to think about life in ways he had never considered before. But college eventually began to feel limiting. After 2 years, he decided to leave without finishing his degree. It was a risky choice, but one that reflected his belief that life should be lived authentically rather than safely. He moved to New York City with little more than determination and curiosity about the world of theater. That decision marked the beginning of a long and uncertain road toward acting. Early struggles in the theater world New York in the late 1960s was a challenging place for a young actor without connections. Gere worked in theater productions, often taking small roles and surviving on modest earnings. His early experiences included performing with regional companies and stage groups that valued dedication more than fame. At times he struggled financially, sleeping wherever he could while chasing auditions and opportunities. Yet these years taught him discipline and resilience. Theater demanded long rehearsals, careful attention to character, and emotional honesty. One of his early stage successes came when he joined the London production of Grease, where he played Danny Zuko, years before the story became a famous film starring John Travolta. The performance brought him attention and showed that his quiet intensity could captivate audiences. Slowly, his reputation grew, and doors that once seemed closed began to open. A spiritual turning point. During the late 1970s, Gere experienced a moment that would shape his life beyond acting. While traveling in Asia, he encountered Buddhist teachings and eventually met the spiritual leader Dalai Lama. The encounter left a profound impression on him. Through meditation and study, Gere discovered a philosophy centered on compassion, mindfulness, and understanding the nature of suffering. These ideas resonated deeply with the questions he had carried since childhood. Over time, he became a dedicated student of Tibetan Buddhism, practicing meditation regularly and visiting monasteries in remote regions. For Gere, spirituality was not a temporary interest, but a lifelong commitment. Even as his acting career expanded, he continued to devote time to spiritual practice, seeking balance between the demands of fame and the inner peace he discovered through meditation. The moment Hollywood took notice. Gere's transition from theater to film happened gradually but decisively. One of his early movie roles came in Looking for Mr. Goodbar, where his brief performance drew attention from critics and audiences alike. Soon afterward, he appeared in Days of Heaven, directed by Terrence Malick, a visually stunning film that earned praise for its artistry. But the true turning point arrived in 1980 with American Gigolo. Gere's portrayal of Julian Kay turned him into a sensation almost overnight. The film's success transformed him into one of Hollywood's most talked-about stars. Suddenly, his name appeared in headlines, his face on magazine covers, and his presence on screen carried enormous attention. Stardom and the challenges of success. The 1980s brought Gere enormous success, but also pressure. After American Gigolo, he starred in the romantic drama An Officer and a Gentleman opposite Deborah Winger. The film became a major box office hit and earned multiple Academy Awards, cementing his reputation as a leading man. Yet not every project reached the same heights. Films like The Cotton Club and King David struggled commercially. Critics began debating whether Gere's appeal came from talent, charm, or simply timing. Despite these fluctuations, he remained one of the most recognizable faces in Hollywood. Fame, relationships, and personal growth. During the early 1990s, Gere's personal life also attracted enormous public attention. In 1991, he married supermodel Cindy Crawford, forming one of the most famous celebrity couples of the decade. Their relationship fascinated the media, yet the pressures of busy careers and constant public scrutiny made maintaining a stable partnership difficult. After several years together, the couple eventually separated. Both later spoke about the challenges of balancing demanding schedules with personal connection, finding peace beyond the spotlight. Today, Richard Gere's life reflects the balance he spent decades seeking. Though he remains respected as an actor, his focus has expanded far beyond Hollywood. He has dedicated significant energy to humanitarian work, spiritual study, and family life. In many ways, the restless young man from Syracuse never stopped searching for meaning. The difference now is that he found peace, not through fame, but through perspective. His journey shows that success is not always measured by awards or box office numbers. Sometimes it is measured by the courage to live according to one's values.